What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Football Busters. Today is Thursday, October 20th, and we got a little sit start video for you. My name is Will. Over there is my faceless co host, Eric. So if you haven't seen any of these episodes before, let me go ahead and explain to you what these are. These start sit videos are for you guys to be able to go in and set your lineups to, the best of your ability and go into it with the most information possible. Usually we go through picking people who are, borderline fringe flex options or people who are ranked higher than that, who we're just worried about going into the week due to matchups or maybe injury status, stuff like that. So the reason why Eric's camera isn't on is because we like to make this a little bit of fun for ourselves and for you guys. And this is my first time actually being on this side of the camera, so it's a little bit new for me too. So what we usually do is when we put these lists together, we'll vote on who we think is our best sit-start option. And we'll calculate all that the next week, and whoever loses has to wear a costume. Usually it's a hat, a mask. It doesn't really matter what it is as long as it's funny. So, with that being said, this is my first time being over here. We got Eric over there. Eric, you ready to show the people what they came here to see?
My name's not Eric. It's Batman.
No fucking way. He's vengeance.
I don't like doing this in the morning. I prefer the night.
He just got back in from the night shift, everybody. Here to talk some fantasy football with us. Dog,
Yeah, man.
that's fucking sick. Wait, let me guess. Just from the shape, is this the Batman versus Superman?
See,
Or
you're
no,
gonna
no, no.
you're
This
gonna
is
quiz
Batman
me.
Begins.
Yeah, you would know better than I do.
That looks like
I'm not
the
gonna be able to answer that for you.
that's the Christian Bale Batman cowl, I believe.
Okay, all right, I dig it.
Nah, that's fire, dude.
All I can tell you is that it's pretty hard to wear with headphones on.
Oh, trust, man. The mask with headphone combo is never fun. I,
We ball, baby. Let's get it.
hell yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and go through some of these options. We got quarterback, running back, wide receiver, flex, and some tight end options as well. So usually we give the person who's losing. I forgot about this because I've lost every week, so I've always been the one to decide. Eric, do you want to go first or second?
So I think I'm going to let you go first. But before we get into it, I just want to make one quick little note. When we've been doing these the past few weeks, I've been basically doing like flex options, people that are borderline flex plays, whatever. With so many bye weeks happening this week to important teams and big players, I tried to include some guys that you might have just picked up off of waivers or might still be available on waivers to help you decide and those type of things. So hopefully get something useful out of that. But yeah, I'm going to let you go first on this first quarterback sit start.
Hell yeah, sounds good. And kicking it off, we have Matt Ryan against the Tennessee Titans or Marcus Mariota against the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Matt Ryan's coming off a week where he just dropped back to pass the ball 58 times. Marcus Mariota, this Atlanta team has been kind of iffy with how much they want to throw the ball. They've been running the ball a lot. They've seen a lot of success with running the ball. And we've seen that if they get into a situation where they can run the ball and be up, they're not going to throw the ball anymore. Now, going up against the Bengals, it should be a matchup where the Falcons will have to throw the ball because they should be behind. But I also can't really trust that. I'm going to go with Matt Ryan against the Tennessee Titans. I feel like it's a good matchup. The Titans' defense has been severely underperforming this year so far. And Matt Ryan, this team is starting to get back into a little bit of a groove. They got Alec Pierce more involved last week. Should be getting Jonathan Taylor back this week as well. So, yeah, I'm leaning towards Matt Ryan in this instance. What about you, Eric?
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to agree with you. These guys couldn't be more different. Matt Ryan is just a statue in the pocket. And really, prior to last week, had a ton of issues with getting sacked, fumbling, interceptions, stuff like that. But somehow they completely righted the ship, had no turnovers against Jacksonville last week. Mariota is in a super low volume passing offense, but he himself, very athletic, likes to run the ball. I think that increases his floor, but I'm not sure he has quite the same ceiling that Matt Ryan does just because of his lack of passing volume. So I'm going to agree with you here and go with Matt Ryan.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And for our next matchup, Eric is going to be starting us with Trevor Lawrence against the Giants or Jimmy Garoppolo against Kansas City?
Yeah, so this is another similar in the sense that Trevor Lawrence has started using his legs more. He ran for 2 touchdowns actually last week, which bolstered his fantasy value because I think he was like sub 200 passing yards, only one passing touchdown, and so that kind of vaulted him into relevance last week. Where Jimmy Garoppolo is the other end of the spectrum, he's really not going to run at all. And also, we've seen basically the same output from him every week that he's played, right around that like 15-point mark. The passing volume just isn't there. And even in a week last week when they played Atlanta and had to pass a ton, he still wasn't really that useful. He's been consistent where Trevor Lawrence hasn't quite done that. But I think I'm going to take the upside here and go with Trevor Lawrence.
Okay. And I think this is going to be the first one where we're going to split off a little bit. I do mirror a lot of the sentiments you have about Trevor Lawrence. I do like how Trevor Lawrence is looking so far, especially after last week. It was a big bounce back game for him. Even though, they weren't able to get the win, I still think the team played a lot better than they had in prior weeks. The only thing that has me a little bit switched up on this is just because of the matchups themselves. I value the New York Giants defense over the Kansas City defense, and I feel like it's a game where Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be forced to throw the ball a lot. Now it's a little bit of a weird matchup because I don't know. I'd never really trust Jimmy Garoppolo to score a lot of points. I always think he's one of those weirder quarterbacks to start, especially with as much as the 49ers like to run the ball. But I do think this may be a good passing week for the 49ers offense. So I'm going to go Jimmy Garoppolo.
I think those are all good points. I didn't bring up the matchups when I was running through mine, but I definitely took that into consideration. Like you said, Kansas City is probably going to make the game script one where Jimmy does have to throw it, but it's just so hard for me to trust him. So I kind of tip the scales towards Trevor.
Nah, that's fair because it is tough to trust Jimmy Garoppolo and kind of tough to trust Kyle Shanahan's offenses.
Yeah.
All right, and then to kick off our running back section, we have an Eno Benjamin against New Orleans or A.J. Dillon against the Washington Commanders. And this is all contingent upon if James Conner does not play so far. So far this week, he hasn't practiced, so it's looking towards Eno Benjamin. So going into this one, I took a look at this, and this is actually a pretty close one in terms of, I guess, ceilings, I feel like. But I think in terms of floor, Eno Benjamin kind of gets the nod here for me. For Washington, so far this year, even though as bad of a team as they've been, and putting all my bias aside, they've only had one 100-yard rusher that they played against this year, and that was Derrick Henry. They've been pretty good against the run, and that leads me to believe that A.J. Dillon, especially given the volume that they do give Aaron Jones in this offense, if A.J. Dillon is to be like a good fantasy football option this week, he would have to score a touchdown. I feel like he'd be pretty touchdown dependent this week. But Eno Benjamin, I think he has the volume at least as a rusher. Now, Arizona is going to get back DeAndre Hopkins this week. Obviously, they picked up Robbie Anderson in a recent trade, so Eno Benjamin's receiving floor may go a little bit down. Also, New Orleans defense, not an easy one to run against. But I feel like with just all-around volume, I go Eno Benjamin in this matchup.
Yeah, I like that. This one was really close for me. Eno Benjamin had great usage last week with Darrell Williams and James Conner out, and still didn't put up a very inspiring fantasy performance. AJ Dillon hasn't put up a inspiring fantasy performance all season, it seems like. And like you said, he's going up against a decent run defense in Washington. New Orleans is probably even a little bit better. But yeah, AJ Dillon is splitting with Aaron Jones. Probably gets the backfield all to himself. And I think he does probably have a little bit more upside from like dump offs and pass catching than AJ Dillon is going to have. It's really, really close for me. But just because of the fact that he's not sharing with anybody else, I think I'm going to agree with you and go Eno Benjamin.
Yes, sir. It's one of those, I guess, volume is king type of situations right there. You just got to trust the guy who literally he has all the opportunity versus A.J. Dillon, who's got to make the most out of his opportunities. But he could because he is talented enough to. Our next matchup is David Montgomery against the New England Patriots or Kenyon Drake against the Cleveland Browns. I almost said Cavaliers.
So this one seems crazy. David Montgomery, the supposed starter for the Bears, or Kenyon Drake, should have been washed up, has been bouncing around the league. It feels like it shouldn't be a competition, but it really, really is. This week, the Bears head coach came out and said that they're going to ride the hot hand in the backfield. That doesn't necessarily mean that David Montgomery is not the starter, but I think that that's not a great look for him, considering Khalil Herbert has definitely been running more efficient and probably looks like the better back, I think, in our opinions. Um, they're playing against New England, who's been absolutely shut down so far this season, especially these last couple of weeks. They've been tearing opposing offenses apart. Um, Kenyon Drake had a great game last week, and J.K. Dobbins might still be dealing with that lingering knee issue. His knee tightened up at halftime last week, so we might get a heavy dose of Kenyon again. And Cleveland's rush defense is terrible, one of the last in the league in opposing running back points given up. So I think I'm actually going to go with Kenyon Drake here.
Okay. No, I'm going to mirror that exact sentiment. I like Kenyon Drake against Cleveland. Cleveland's run defense hasn't been great. I believe they're like third from the bottom against running
Yeah,
backs this
I think they're
season so
30th.
far.
Yeah.
David Montgomery, he's starting to. I'm not saying he's going to start to lose his opportunity, but I know what the fuck is the Bears coach's name? How the fuck do you pronounce it?
Eberflus.
Eberflus. He sounds like a Dr.
Yeah.
Seuss character, but David Montgomery, he made it very clear that they are going to go with the sort of ride the hot hand approach to who's going to be getting opportunities in this offense. And David Montgomery, at least so far this year, hasn't really been the hot hand. It's really been Khalil Herbert and his emergence. And I kind of don't trust David Montgomery going forward unless I see more from him or I just see that they have fully committed to him. And Kenyon Drake's matchup is just, I think it's just too good in this situation to go with David Montgomery. I think Kenyon Drake, he has more of the opportunity, potentially. And, yeah, I'm going Kenyon Drake here against Cleveland.
Dig it. We'll ride together with this one.
Hell yeah. Is it going to come down to one matchup? Doubt it. I'm looking at this next matchup and I'm realizing why Eric had me go first. We got the wide receiver section. we we got the rare threefer. We have Nico Collins against the Las Vegas Raiders. We got Wan'Dale Robinson against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we have Jahan Dotson against the Green Bay Packers. Now, out of the three of these, I'm going to try to narrow it down to two. Well, I'm going to try to talk about all of them. Wan'Dale Robinson, I feel like last week benefited a lot off of the play call that he was able to score on. I feel like he does have a good role within this offense. He will have volume going forward. But I believe that scoring play, was kind of off of a pick play back in the back of the end zone. So there was a little bit of luck that came along with that touchdown. But at the same time, it still means he has a role in the offense. I'm not going to say that means that he's not a good player. Jahan Dotson against the Packers. The Packers defense has not been as great as we initially thought they were going to be coming into the season. Jahan Dotson is going to have a change at quarterback this weekend. Taylor Heineke will be at the helm. And I know Jahan Dotson was getting a lot of usage early on with Carson Wentz. We'd even gotten reports in training camp with him and Carson Wentz that he was becoming a sort of favorite target to him. And I'm not sure if Taylor Heineke shares that same sentiment towards him. So I guess we kind of have to see that going forward if that chemistry and rapport is sort of there. And the most intriguing one that I kind of see here is Nico Collins against the Las Vegas Raiders. His role in this offense is it's expanded quite a lot. His volume is extremely similar to Brandon Cooks, except he's been able to actually do more with it. He's been able to get targeted deep. He's been making great contested catches. And I believe going up against this Las Vegas Raiders team, they are one of the most fantasy-friendly defenses, if not the most fantasy-friendly, I believe. They did come off their bye, so some things may have gotten adjusted or changed coming into this week. But I like this Nico Collins matchup against the Raiders. I think this is a week where we're going to finally get a sort of a breakout week from Nico Collins.
I like it. For context for the people, what Will was alluding to is that this applies to my team. I'm trying to have him help me make a sit start decision. I actually have one for him later on down in the tight end section too that I'm going to start us off with. Hopefully that'll help us out this week. But yeah, I like all of what you said. I agree with most of what you said. I am a little bit higher on Wandale than you. He's definitely more of like a future forward play, somebody I'm
Hmm.
stashing in hopes that he gets better down the road. Um, but I think this offense is totally devoid of weapons outside of Saquon Barkley. Um, and they brought him back slowly last week because he was still coming off the injury. I believe he only played 15 snaps, but on those 15 snaps, he had an absurd 36% target rate.
Hmm.
And so he was just getting involved every time he was on the field. He had two big first down conversions and that touchdown in limited opportunities. So I expect his role to expand quickly just because out of necessity, they're going to need him to perform, and he's probably their most talented wide receiver on the outside. But it is tough to project somebody to go from 15 snaps to a full time role within a week's period.
Hmm.
And so I like Wandale a lot. I want to go with him, but I think I'm probably going to agree with you. Nico's just got the safe floor and the potential for an even expanded role if he finally supplants Brandon Cooks as the wide receiver one in this offense.
Hell yeah. Those ones are really fun. I like those. I like those threefers right there.
Yeah.
Next matchup we have is Juju Smith-Schuster against the San Francisco 49ers or Brandon Cooks against the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, so we just talked up Nico Collins. Probably brings Brandon Cook's floor down a little bit if we think that Nico is going to be eating into that target share,
Mm-hmm.
which he has been for the last few weeks. But still, the matchup for Brandon Cooks against Las Vegas is just so much better than Juju's matchup versus San Francisco. San Francisco's defense across the board has been top of the league. I believe they've had some injuries in their secondary recently,
Mm-hmm.
but they're still performing pretty well, even with that being the case. Juju finally had kind of his, I don't know if I want to call it a breakout game, but a boom game from him uh, last week. So do we expect more of that going forward? Obviously, I like his quarterback play and offense overall better. Man, this is difficult. I think Vegas is probably going to be beating the Texans. They're going to have to throw.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so close. I'm going to go Brandon Cooks. I'm not super confident, but yeah, game script and matchup, I think, is going to lead me to choose that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna mirror that sentiment as well. The spoiler alert, but I'm going Brandon Cooks. I like him better than Juju just because of something that we had spoken about in our last video, the recap. If you guys haven't checked those out, we do those every single week. Make sure you check it out. But I think this Kansas City offense, like I said before, it's sort of in one of those weird spots where it's so good that we don't really know where any type of target funnel is. So to bet on Juju, you could just as easily put any other Kansas City receiver who gets play here, and we just wouldn't really know unless it's Travis Kelce. But with Brandon Cooks, we do know that there at least is a funnel between him and Nico Collins. They are the two guys here. And I do think that, like you said, Las Vegas is a great matchup. Brandon Cooks should get looks. And this San Francisco defense, it's no joke. They have taken some hits. I know they lost Emmanuel Mosley in the past couple weeks, but even after losing him, they've still been playing at a very high level. So, yeah, I would lean more towards Brandon Cooks in this situation as well over Juju.
Get sticking together again.
And then heading into our flex section, so you guys will see some positions start to get a little bit mixed up here. It won't just be one of each. But we have Josh Reynolds of the Lions against Dallas Cowboys or Kareem Hunt against the Baltimore Ravens.
Does this one go to you or is this one me?
This one is me,
Yeah.
and this one is tough.
Yeah.
So we've got Kareem Hunt against the Baltimore Ravens. He's the second running back on this team, but he still gets a lot of good looks. The Ravens' defense against the run hasn't been the best. They haven't been terrible, but they haven't been the best as well. Dallas's pass defense has been this is really difficult. Amon-Ra St. Brown is back. He shouldn't be on a pitch count for the Lions anymore. He should be back to full health. DeAndre Swift is also going to be back. He's going to eat into some of those targets as well, I would assume. I'm going to take Kareem Hunt Yeah, I'm going to take Kareem Hunt in this situation. I like his role. I think his role is a little bit more cemented in this Browns offense. It's with Josh Reynolds. He has been performing, but he's been performing due to, I believe, the opportunity he's had since Amon-Ra St. Brown hasn't really been playing. DeAndre Swift has been out. The team's kind of been just they haven't been performing to the same level that they had been when everyone was healthy. So I kind of do trust Kareem Hunt a little bit more. I'm going with a floor play on this one.
Like it, yeah. I think this is probably one of the more difficult decisions on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Reynolds has actually been fairly impressive. I didn't realize this until I was looking it up, making this sheet. But I think he's scored double-digit fantasy points for the last 4 weeks prior to the bye week. So that includes games where Amon-Ra was still healthy. But like you said, the offense has been trending downward just a little bit. Um, they got blanked by New England prior to the bye. So we hope that they can bounce back, but it's going to be tough to do so against this Dallas front, who's got an incredible pass rush and a really good back end as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb both struggled in their last matchup. I believe also against New England. They go up against
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore, who's kind of middle of the pack. But I think game script might dictate them throwing the ball more, which probably favors Kareem Hunt a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be one of those divisional matchups between Baltimore and Cleveland. I imagine it's probably going to be fairly close, even if they're down by a little bit. Yeah, this one's tough. I think you're right in saying that Kareem Hunt is the floor play, and for that reason, I think I'm gonna agree with you here and go with Kareem Hunt.
Sticking together again. We're gonna leave it down to 1 week. I kind of like
Yeah, we might.
it.
Uh, Also, this next one coming up, I just wanted chaos, man. This one's gross.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, this is one of those matchups right here that this is proven we're in sort of that bye week area.
Oh yeah.
We got Cortland Sutton against the New York Jets or Latavius Murray against the New York Jets.
Yeah. So the lowest scoring offense in football that title belongs to the Denver Broncos. Russell Wilson is dealing with a serious hamstring strain, is what the team is saying. He's going to try to play through it, but we don't know for sure whether he's actually going to play or if it's going to be the backup. Brett Rippon, I think. His career, his few opportunities have not been good. So regardless, we're either going to get a Russ who's been terrible and is injured, or a backup that's been terrible in all of his opportunities. Starting quarterback for this team. So do you want the running back or the wide receiver in this instance? I, I just feel like if the quarterback play is that bad, they're more likely to lean on the run. For that reason, I'm going to go Latavius Murray. But also, they just said that Melvin Gordon is the starter this week after
Mm-hmm.
they benched him all of last week. It's crazy. I'm still going to go that way, but this is gross all around.
Yeah, it's gross. This matchup like violently reminded me of like the Russell Wilson quote from like I think it was yesterday. Did you see that quote that he said?
I don't think so.
They had asked him about his hamstring injury, and he said, "I heal quick. I got Wolverine blood or something."
He said that?
Yeah,
What a ridiculous person
yeah,
Russell Wilson has turned into, man. Oh my God.
yeah, bro. He's kind of a clown, man. It's
Yeah.
crazy. But this is a tough one, man. I got Cortland Sutton who's just been underperforming, and you got Latavius Murray who's supposedly the backup, but he's been out playing Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon got benched, and yeah, this is ugly. You went Latavius Murray on this?
I did.
Let's get spicy. I'll go Cortland Sutton on this. I don't really have any reasoning. I just don't know. Honestly, this is a crazy matchup right here. I like Cortland Sutton. Okay,
Yeah.
so just to give some fantasy context, I do like Cortland Sutton's volume in this offense. I don't know what happened last week, to be honest with you. I don't really know what happens with this team every week, but at least I do like Cortland Sutton's usage, and we don't, I guess, strictly know how Latavius Murray's going to get used. Like that whole Melvin Gordon news was kind of a monkey wrench and all that. If
Yeah.
they hadn't said that, I probably would have gone Latavius Murray, but I just don't know what they're planning anymore. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you're locking that one in?
Yeah, I'm going to lock in Cortland Sutton.
All right. Yeah. I think Cortland Sutton's going to draw Sauce Gardner as his
Oh, he's
matchup
got
this week.
sauce on him.
Yeah.
Oh no!
So good luck with that one.
Fuck, dude. Sauce Gardner just as good as I hoped he would be. Actually,
So
he's
good,
even
dude.
better than I hoped he
Yeah.
would be.
He's already like one of the top corners in the league.
He's so good, and he
It's
said he
wild.
was gonna be good.
Yeah.
I love that shit, man. I love elite corners.
hmm
All right, and then rolling into the tight end matchups, we have Robert Tunyon against Washington or Gerald Everett against Seattle. This is going to be an interesting one right here. We've got Robert Tunyon, who's coming off of 12 targets last week with 10 receptions, I believe, for 90 yards. I don't believe he's ever done that in his career. And we've got Gerald Everett, who's coming off sort of a down week. His role in this offense with the Chargers has gotten a bit downgraded as we've gone forward in this season, especially with the return of Donald Parham. But he still is outpacing Donald Parham in terms of touches, so he hasn't been usurped, but he's getting a little bit less play than he was prior. I think just looking at this matchup, I'm going to lean towards Robert Tunyon. I think that first off, this Green Bay offense is really bad. They don't really have great receiving options to begin with, or at least the ones they do have, they're not really using them to their fullest potential. I don't really know why. Randall Cobb is down. I feel like Robert Tunyon is going to sort of take in that sort of safety blanket role that Randall Cobb had for Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to lean towards Robert Tunyon in this matchup against Washington. The Washington defense secondary has not been great against the pass whatsoever. I think this is probably going to be a bounce back week for the Packers.
Yeah, it's been a lot less than great.
Yeah.
They've been really, really bad. But yeah, I wanna provide some little details, some nuggets here. Your assumption about Robert Tunyon taking on that kind of safety blanket role, I think, is totally true. I was trying to look into reasoning behind the jump in fantasy production between prior weeks and last week for Robert Tunyon, and I think it was just Randall Cobb. Him going down led Robert Tunyon's usage to change. He got split out into the slot a ton, where that's where Randall Cobb was running out of. And I think that opened up his opportunities. It led to a ton more targets, like you said, 12 targets, 10 catches, 90 yards. So until Randall Cobb gets back, I think they're probably going to continue to use Tunyon in a similar fashion. And they don't really have anybody else to fill that slot role effectively. So I think I'm going to agree with you here. But then also just to talk about Gerald Everett, you're right that Donald Parham has been stealing a little bit of opportunity, but I believe he also got concussed this last week. I'm not
Oh,
100% sure if they're going to hold him out or if he's going to play, but if he's held out, then that probably means better things for Gerald Everett. Even with that being said, these guys both have good matchups to go up against, but I'm probably still going to go Tunyon. I think he's got more volume coming his way.
gotcha. Yeah, that does. Yeah, I like that. That does change some things. So if that is true, yeah, keep an eye on that because Gerald Everett's usage may go up if that is the case. But yeah, I still like Robert Tunyon there too, even if that is the case. And then our final tight end matchup, we have Juwan Johnson against the Arizona Cardinals or Cade Otton against the Carolina Panthers.
So this one goes to me.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I was bringing up. So Will in our league has Dallas Goddard. He's on bye this week. He just picked up Cade Otton. Juwan Johnson is sitting out there on waivers.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring this one up, give you a little something to think about. Juwan Johnson going up against Arizona. We've talked about this Arizona secondary plenty these past couple weeks. They're really, really good at taking away opposing teams' number one wide receivers. They lock up the outsides really well, but the inside of their defense, their linebackers, can't cover for shit. Tight ends have been going crazy. Slot receivers have been going crazy against Arizona.
Mm.
So I do expect Juwan Johnson to have a good game this week. It's tough to trust when he hasn't really done that much fantasy production wise so far this season. But I think this is the perfect matchup for him, especially in an offense that's dwindled down due to injuries. Chris Olave is really their only other guy to throw to. I guess Alvin Kamara out of the backfield too. But if they're locking him up on the outside, Juwan is probably going to be their number one. So I like him a lot. But it's important to mention Cade Otton. Cameron Brate went down and he won't be playing this game. In the only other game that we've seen Cade Otton play without Cameron Brate, I think he got 7 targets, 6 catches. He didn't get in the end zone, but it was a decent week for him. He's got a Carolina matchup that's pretty good. Obviously, overall team play, well, that I guess could be debatable, but quarterback at least, Tom Brady is clearly better on that side, which typically I would lean towards. But I think the opportunity share, like the market share of targets that could be going towards Juwan Johnson, are enough for me to lean that direction.
Okay. Also, saying Tom Brady clearly better than Jameis Winston. A little bit of a shot at my boy,
But we
but
don't even know if Jameis is gonna play, bro. Could be Jameis, could be Andy Dalton. Who knows, man?
yeah, that is true. I will say too that Juwan Johnson last season, when Jameis was under helm, he did start out the season pretty hot too. He
Yeah,
did have some good games, so Jameis is familiar with them at the very least. I believe both him and Andy Dalton didn't have injury designations at practice this week.
they've both been cleared. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I see what you're saying, man. I'm conflicted as Eric's telling you, I'm conflicted because this is an actual decision I got to make for this week. And I was leaning towards Kate Otten. Kate Otten is the one that I picked up and is on my team, but like Eric said, Juwan Johnson right out there on waivers. But I went with Kate Otten because I do like the offense. I think this may be a pretty big bounce back week for them, especially against the Panthers. But Eric does bring up some really good points about Juwan Johnson.
Okay, so one more thing to bring up.
Okay.
Like Juwan Johnson, we talked about his role being increased for this week. They're probably going to take away Chris Olave. Cade Otton, I like the matchup. I prefer the quarterback. I prefer the offense. He's got tight end pretty much by himself this week. But just as far as like target competition, they've
Yeah.
already said that they want to get Mike Evans more involved. Chris Godwin has been an absolute target monster.
Yeah.
Julio, I think, might be able to play this week. I don't know 100% for sure on that one, but and Lenny has been racking up targets too. I don't know if that sways your decision at all, but target competition there is definitely steeper.
Nah, like that's something I had to think about as well. It's a better team, so it's sort of that same.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just yeah. You know what, guys? You saw it here live. Eric has sold me. I am on the Juwan Johnson train. I will be making the switch right now on my team. He will be starting this weekend.
Listen to Batman.
Vengeance wins again. But that's going to conclude our entire list. If you guys haven't noticed, this is the first week, right? This is the absolute first week that Kyle Pitts has not been on this list. He was able to outscore the random waiver wire tight end. He almost didn't, I will say. It was a closer matchup than we thought. Noah Fant heavily involved last week. But Kyle Pitts somehow able to get away with it. What do you have, 3 catches, 19 yards, and a touchdown?
Just wasn't convincing, but he got it done.
Just barely able to get away with it. Got away with murder on that one. But our boy is free. Who knows if he would have won this week? Probably not. Who knows? Arthur Smith's kind of a douchebag. But we appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure you guys check out some of our other videos. We put out weekly recaps every week. We put out injury news every week. We do these sit starts, obviously, every week. You can check out our other socials. You can follow us on Twitter. You can check it out in the description. Follow us on TikTok. We got a lot of cool stuff over there on TikTok. We do waiver wire pickups. We do sit starts. We do a spin the wheel challenge that we actually have to film for this week pretty soon. So check us out everywhere you can. And Eric, you got anything for the people?
Everything that Will said, go help us out. Follow us, subscribe, all that good stuff. YouTube on here. If you gain anything from this video, hit the like. We would very much appreciate that. That helps us out a lot. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. And lastly, man, clap it up for Will. He got it done this week.
Let's go.
He's not in costume. Let's go,
Let's
Will.
go. 1 in 5, baby.
He's on the come up. But with that, I think we'll go on and get out of here. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.
I'm winning again. How could I lose? I was born just to win. Could never lose, so I'm winning again. I'm winning again. I'm winning again. Minute by minute, I'm meeting the end.